That's it. The next stop for the U.S. men's national team is the 2026 World Cup. And it's what they say: chickens don't fly, Batman doesn't fly, tactical manager doesn't fly, but time does. And time did fly by. It's already here, the World Cup. In less than 2 months, we get the U.S. men's national team roster. And then we have two friendlies, and then here we are. Okay, we're playing the first game against Paraguay. So right now we just finished the March camp, which is the last one before we get the World Cup roster. We lost to Belgium 5-2, not a good result. Obviously, we lost to Portugal 2-0. Not as bad as the Belgium one, but also not a great result. I was hoping we would at least pull a draw in these two games. But regardless, we're going to talk about that quite a bit throughout the episode, because today we have our infamous camp recap. Hello, hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV. And today we have our U.S. men's national team March camp recap with Adam, USMNT Stan. We always do these episodes after camp ends, so we're back, and it's the last one before the World Cup. And as always, we start with the U.S. men's national team pulse check to see if this team is alive. In the last video, we gave it a 7 out of 10. It's probably going to go down. We'll talk about that with Adam very soon. Then we go through two players that had their stocks go up, two players that had their stocks go down, one big positive, one big negative, and then we rate the camp from 1 to 10. So let me know in the comment section down below, a player that had his stock go up, a player that had his stock go down. A big positive, a big negative, and from 1 to 10, what do you rate this camp? Okay, don't forget to drop a like in this video. I will not be asking throughout the episode when Adam is here, and make sure to share this episode with that one person that you don't like. Okay, let's roll the intro, bring in Adam, and start our camp recap. All right, Adam, the last camp before we get the U.S. men's national team World Cup roster just came to an end. And it's kind of weird because 2025 ended with the United States catching some good momentum. Ever since we started a part of this series that you came up with, the post check, we were down to like pretty much a zombie. This was a dead team. And we started to slowly move from like a 2 on the post check. And last camp, we were a 7. So the team was alive. It was back. And now we're going to start this one by talking about the post check after this camp, which we can be overdramatic about it and have it crash. The one thing, or we can just drop it a little bit. The one thing we can't have is keep it where it was, because this definitely, the big picture, this definitely wasn't a good camp. I think we can all agree on that. So I'm going to put the score on screen, and I want to know your post check before I give mine. The last one, we agreed to give it a 7 out of 10. The team was alive. We're back to life. So we lose to Belgium 5-2 at home. We lose to Portugal 2-0 at home. The first half of both games wasn't that bad, but the overall performance was, and the result was. Adam, from 1 to 10, starting at 7, because that was the last one, what's the pulse right now?
Yeah, well, let's keep the running analogy going, Tack. And thanks for having me on. And really good to see you, man. We're getting into some exciting times for USMNT. It's the times that I think we listen. Like the whole 4 years is all about this, right? It really is. It's like the whole thing is like, can you build toward the World Cup? Soccer's so unique internationally in that way, right? Where it's like there's some stuff in between. There's Copa and Gold Cup. This is it, though, right? Like everything you do is for this. And so it's good to be here, first of all. Like, so this is what we've been looking forward to. I wish we were together and, under a little better circumstances, a little more momentum building. But yeah, certainly, let's keep the analogy going. Like, we were the dead guy on the table. We were resuscitated and brought back to life. We were being, fed in the hospital and being brought back to health. We got home. We were feeling good. And now all of a sudden, I'll be honest with you, we're
Explosive diarrhea.
We're feeling the tingling in our right arm, and we think we might have
explosive diarrhea. And we went back to the hospital. That's what.
And I'm like, do I have a heart attack? Like, are we about to die? But you're not sure. You're like, I don't know. And so I got to revert us back. The pulse is back to a 4. Just like the fan base, like it's like 3-4 range, like we had a little momentum. and everybody's like, "Oh, come on! Like, was that real? Was that fake? Like, was that?"
So so
I'm in the 3-4 range, tack. Yeah, I don't think we've died again, but I think we've got something going on in our chest, and we got to go get it checked out by a doctor, and like we'll figure out very fast if it's a heart attack or if we're okay.
what I'll say is this. That's what I was saying. To me, it's not. I was joking about it being explosive diarrhea instead of a heart attack because I want to go a different route with this. I mean, throughout the video, there's a lot of negatives to talk about, but I want to say one thing. One, it's not all doom and gloom, right? The same way beating 5-1, like beating Uruguay 5-1 is not like all sunshine and rainbows. This is also not all doom and gloom. So we were a dead patient at one point because the results were just so bad under Pochettino. Nations League, which were competitive games, by the way, friendlies against Turkey and Switzerland, it was bad. So we had the heart attack and we were almost dead. We came back to life, and then I think what happened now is we're back home, and because of the medication, we might have just had a little bit of explosive diarrhea with some blood in it, maybe, which is very disgusting to talk about. But if we're going towards the analogy, that's how I would put it. But again, it's not all doom and gloom because when we talk about some of the positives, you're like, hey, maybe if we can develop a bit more consistency, like what we played in the first half, maybe play two halves like that. Who knows what will happen, right? We might have a shot. Maybe Christian Pulisic comes back to life. Maybe he starts dating Sydney Sweeney and he just gets his soccer back, right? It's his mojo back. I'm going to give our pulse a 5 instead of a 4. I'm going to say average. We're not back in the hospital. That's what I meant. We're definitely sick at home. We got something. It might be a stomach bug. It might be something more serious with our intestines, but it definitely has to drop. Like your 4 is also fair, but I'm going with a 5, and maybe that's even a bit optimistic. I think some people watching this might give it like a 2 or a 1. They're like, we're screwed. We're screwed in the World Cup. But we got to also remember, Adam, in the group stage in the World Cup where people are like, we're going to get grouped. There's no team in our group at the level of Belgium or Portugal. That's the first thing.
For sure.
And you can advance even in third place. So not a good camp, but let's be rational about things. And I think that's what this episode's about, right? When we start to put like stocks ups and down, we're not going to be positive because there's it's not very positive.
And that's why there is no heart attack yet, right? That's why you got the tingling in your right arm. You're like, is something I can't tell. Like, let's go to the hospital and let's get this checked out. Because it's like what happened, right? Is like there was enough worrying stuff, and we'll dig into it, that it's like, are we okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, are we all right? Or are we not? Like, because it's certainly, to your point, we played one of the better halves, in my opinion. I don't think it's overstating. Against Belgium, that was an awesome first half. The end, Doku started kind of exposing the space that ended up being really exposed in the second half. But like for the most part, we really dominated the half. We were really unlucky to only score one goal, which, I'm not normally that guy. I'm normally like, you don't score as much as you think you do. We really should have scored 2 goals in that half. I think most times, if you play that back 100 times, we scored 2 goals most of the time. That was awesome. And Tack, let me just read this to you, okay? So this is, and let's just be honest. This is the rational segment before we're going to get into the negatives, right? But if I told you, hey, Tack, our starting lineup is what the starting lineup was, which is pretty good. It's pretty solid overall, And if I told you, hey, Tack, here's what we're going to do to start the half.
You mean Belgium game, right? Belgium.
The Belgium game, sorry. We're going to bring in Roldan, Freeman, Arfston, Berhalter in the first 20 minutes. We're going to rotate those 4 guys in. I don't think you would be excited about that against Belgium. You know what I'm saying? Like, we rotated really fast, and we brought in guys that are not even close to up to the level. And now we could talk about that. That's a separate convo. Like, why do we keep playing these guys that aren't up to the level? Do we need to just Poch trying to prove something? Is he trying to figure it out? Like, but I don't know. I don't take the second half of Belgium that seriously because it seemed very tinkering to me. I think we had 9 subs in the second half.
But let's talk about that on the sections, like the positive, negatives, because
Sure.
because there's a lot to talk about what you just said. Like the lineup, I brought up the lineup because you mentioned it. If we just put Matt Freese for Turner and Chris Richards for Tim Ream, that's a starting lineup that I'm comfortable with in the World Cup, right? 2 players that you have to switch.
That's correct. And you're right. I don't want to step on the toes of it, but I think it's important when you say, hey, it's all not doom and gloom, because it's not, because the Belgium game was really good and then it turned really bad. But the really bad happened it was such a friendly exhibition type second half. Like it seemed like we were treating it like a tryout, which comment on that what you want, but that's how I felt about it. I wasn't that negative after game one, but after game two, it was like, gosh, that was a stinky 2 games, when you put them both together.
But the lineup also in Portugal, there's a lot of issues in
Exactly.
that game. So let's go into specifics now. I think now we got a broad picture of what happened this camp. Now specifics. So we always start with like players that had their stocks go up. And that's what we're gonna do, 2 each. Since you're the guest, I'm a great host. I'm a great host, ain't I? Let's be
You're an
honest.
awesome host, especially for giving me the stock up first, because I'll just take the obvious one. In my opinion, it's like anybody watching this camp, like Freeze's stock is way up. Turner played terrible. Freeze actually had, I think, his best game in the Portugal game. Because my one critique with him was like, I haven't seen him save goals that are like above normal average replacement level, right? And I thought he had specifically two saves in that game that were like the type of saves you're going to need to win games in the World Cup, right? You just are. You're going to have a couple shots that are, really good shots, and you got to get a finger on them. And he did it twice. And I don't think either of the goals were close to his fault. I thought he was blameless on the goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately, Matt Freeze was one of mine, but I got more. I'm gonna say Austin Trusty for this one, and it's not because he played well, because I thought actually he was more close to like average. The reason I say his stock has gone up, it's not that he's gonna be a starter in the World Cup. It's just that Tim Ream's stock kind of crashed more than it was. It was low. It was low, but it crashed more. Like it's looking more and more likely that Tim Ream needs to just sit on the bench and be there as a leader for this team. And I guess if you're like defending on a low block, 10 minutes to hold a win, I think that's a situation you can throw in Tim Ream. I think that. So he's a useful player still. Please, I still want him in the World Cup. But it came to a point where like McKenzie or Trusty have to start. And Trusty was a player that didn't make it to every camp. Last camp he played well against Uruguay, but we weren't really. When you talk about starting 11 or someone does a projected starting 11, no one plays Trusty. It was always Richards and McKenzie or even Freeman as a third center back. Some people even put Tim Ream. I think Trusty has made a case for himself to be in the World Cup. That's one, and to fight for a starting spot. If we play a back three, if it's Trusty, McKenzie, and Richards, that can happen, or Trusty with Richards. So his stock definitely went up. He's not a locked-in starter, and I'm not saying he has to be. I'm saying that he was kind of out of the picture, and now I would assume that his stock has gone up also with Pochettino. To the very least, he's a roster guy, right, at this point. So that's my stock up. And then you have your second one. I hope you don't have the same one as me because I don't have many others. Who is it?
If Trusty isn't starting, who is, right?
McKenzie.
I'm still not a McKenzie fan. He still hasn't won me over. Yeah, I think the nice thing about Trusty is the left foot, and I think he's more comfortable on the left side. I think Richards is just better on the right, personally. I know he can play the left side and has, but I just really like the combination of Trusty on the left as a lefty, Richards on the right as a righty. I'm close to locking that in, Tack. I'll be honest. Like, I don't think it's like I'm not offended if you like say other options. But I just Miles, no. Ream, no. McKenzie for me is a no.
Banks doesn't want us.
Trusty's put in a couple of the better performances we've seen, but is he a game-changing center back? That's where it's like, no. I just don't know what else we have at this point to do. But anyway, my second one is I'm going back to the really tried and true. I'd feel bad about, a post-camp recap if we didn't do this. It has to be a guy who's not there. So it's got to be
back to those. We're back.
We have it's like a tradition, man. We have to throw. If you don't have one of these in, it can't be attack and Stan USMNT camp recap. All right, Serginho Dest, right? I was kind of looking at the results, and it's like, man, when this guy plays, we're pretty good. Like last camp, we had Dest, and the results were good. And he doesn't always score. He doesn't even always get an assist, right? There's something about having Dest on the field that like ties things together. And I think it's obviously in possession more than defensively. but we're just more competent, right? I feel the same way. Still feel the same way about Gio, and I know it's crazy. He has barely played, but I still feel like when Gio's out there, somehow the team just performs better. We possess better. We connect better. Our defense plays.
Besides this camp, right? This camp didn't matter.
I mean, he gets thrown in at the end of games. I'm talking about when he really gets like, okay, you're going to be in with the best guys, and you get the other best guys around you. To me, that's what Dest and Gio are really good. When they're surrounded by other good players, they're elevators. And it's not, once again, it's not because they do this one thing that leads to a goal. Tack, like you and I know, right? Like, here's a good example. The first goal against Portugal, that is an offensive error that leads to the goal. You can break down a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, we made a pretty crappy play in possession to turn the ball over and launch the ball right back into their feet in the channel to like make the easiest ball up the field possible, right? When you have Destin Gio in, those turnovers just don't happen that often. Like they're just so good with ball security. They know to take more chances up the field, take less. Like they're just smarter. So,
well, Dest would have taken a better touch than Freeman on that first Portugal goal, where Freeman took a bad touch and did a bad pass to McKennie.
That's a weird place to put McKennie, right? Like Dest is he's just higher IQ. Dest just understands I can't put Wes in that spot. Wes isn't good in that spot. So, it's ballooned. It's not like those guys never make mistakes. It's just they do it all at a higher level. So Serginho Dest is my second one. And if you go back, I don't want to just go back to last camp. Like if you go back and look at our positive results this whole window, there's not that many of them, like truly positive. Like Dest is a part of almost every single one. Tack going back to the 23 Nations League, going to the Mexico final in 24 under Berhalter. Like it's always we have Serginho Dest on the field if we're performing close to our potential or above our potential. We have him out there.
My stocks up will be Tyler Adams a bit. His stock was obviously very high. I think for the most part, the fan base sees him as a locked-in starter. But I know he has some weird personality sometimes that he tries to be the tough guy, but at least he's a guy that has a bit of a fight in him, a bite in him, and this team lacks that. And again, this camp showed that. I also think his stocks have gone up a bit more because I thought Tessman was okay in the first half against Belgium, but I thought Tessman was actually poor against Portugal. I didn't see anything. And then Johnny, I thought he was good against Belgium in the first half, but he only played 45 minutes. So it wasn't like Johnny broke out this camp and he's like, oh, he has. So I think, for example, Johnny and Tessman have made a case where they will be in the World Cup roster, and they should be. But Johnny didn't break out. Tessman didn't stand out. So when you look into that position, there is no threat to Tyler right now. It's pretty much like the double pivot is Tyler and who else? And that's what this camp showed us once again. And even if Johnny and Tessman are balling out, it feels like this team just needs that player with a bite because no one else has it. Like no one has that. You need a guy that will shove someone from time to time. You need a guy that'll do a very hard tackle. A guy sometimes that even plays with a little bit of malice. Like, for example, when we lost that ball in the midfield to Portugal, the mistake from Freeman and McKennie, if you have a player with a little bit of malice, you know what he does? He just hits the Portuguese player right there. Foul him right there. Get a yellow if you have to. Probably wouldn't because it's like there's no danger or anything. Just foul him. Grab him, little tackle below. Players do that. South Americans do that all the time. South American players. We don't have that. I'm not saying Tyler would do that, but if there was any American player that I would think that would do that, it would be him. He would tackle the guy, foul him, stop it right there. That's just one example. So I think Tyler Adams' stock has gone up. It's kind of weird, right? Because they're like, hey, he's already a locked-in starter. Yeah, but it can go higher. You can be even more of a locked-in starter. And I think that was one thing. So moving on from that, we gave the two stocks up. Stocks down, we have plenty of options. Do you want me to go first? Because I want to drop a big name here. I never thought I would say this, but Pulisic's stock is down. Like, you had him, Pulisic.
Sure, it's the number one.
Is down.
Number one.
It's crazy to me because it goes beyond on-field performance. Like the post-game interview where he's like holding his arm like this and just kind of like looking weak and defeated. Where it's like, Christian Pulisic, you are, despite your stocks going down, you are our best player. We need you guns blazing in the World Cup. We need you confident. We need you at your best. Um, if the if the rumors are true and the breakup was an issue or it's injuries, even though he said he's feeling good fitness wise, right? Shake it off. Like your country literally needs you in the World Cup. Like we cannot have a Pulisic in poor form, which he's in terrible form right now. He scored no goals in 2026 for club and country. We're already in April. He hasn't scored for the U.S. men's national team since late 2024. So no goals in 2025, comes back in 2026, poor performances again, two very bad performances. At the end of the first half against Portugal, there was a moment where he lost the ball. He got kind of frustrated. He kicked the Portuguese player. Sure, maybe you're stopping the counterattack, but that's not why he did it. He was frustrated. He's like, things are not going his way. And his stock has to be down. Like by putting his stock down, I'm not saying bench him. On the contrary, you have to persist on Pulisic in the World Cup. But the stock is down. It's like, is there a scenario where you do bench him in the World Cup? Let me ask you one thing, Adam. Let's say he plays the same way against Germany, the same way against Senegal, and then the first game against Paraguay, again, very poorly. And then, I don't know, like Tillman's playing well, Gio comes off the bench and plays well. Is there a scenario where in game 2 against Australia, you're just like, put Pulisic off the bench? I don't think he'll reach that point. He's a streaky player, and eventually he'll score. When he scores, he's going to catch fire. But in that scenario that I just said, which is possible, he could struggle all 4 games. Three next games. Is there a scenario where you even consider not do it, but you consider benching Pulisic?
I think this happens.
I wouldn't, by the way. I would persist on him until we're out. I would do
this
that.
happens in basketball all the time, right? Like a really good player, your best shooter, just has like a horrific stretch, and it's like, what are we gonna do? It's like, if a team leans on a guy, no matter the sport, right? Quarterback in football, you kind of have to ride him until the wheels fall off. And if the wheels fall off, they fall off. But like our ceiling tack is
I agree,
so much lower without him that you just have to ride him and hope that it comes good. Because people are going to say I'm crazy. Some people might say I'm crazy because I'll also say this. If the last 2 camps, those were the resuscitation camps. Pulisic really wasn't a part of those camps, Tack. Like, if you go look at it, right?
He wasn't there with Paraguay and Uruguay. He wasn't there.
Wasn't there at all last camp. And then he played 31 minutes against Australia in the camp before, which was a positive camp. We got a draw and we got a win, but it was like an overall positive camp and steps forward. He really didn't have really an impact in that camp. So that's worrying. I did see something that I thought was funny today that, like, since he did the Trump dance, he hasn't scored. And
that was his last goal?
That was his last goal, the Jamaica Trump dance. Yeah. Whoa. And he hasn't scored since. So they were like,
yeah, you're right. That was his last goal. Yeah, you're right.
Maybe some bad juju.
But Adam, let me add one thing about Pulisic too. The one comment I get all the time on Twitter, which drives me nuts, people are just like, he always shows up for us, so don't worry about the Milan form. They always say that. And then I started to remember, like, he always shows up for us. Where was he in the Copa America?
Right.
Besides the Bolivia game.
Yeah.
He didn't show. So Pulisic doesn't just magically show up for the USMNT. He has many good games, don't get me wrong. Scored some very important goals and had big moments. But I'm just saying, don't just go with this blind belief that he's just going to magically show up in the World Cup and ball out. He could have a terrible World Cup. That could happen. And the way things are going right now, it's leaning more towards a terrible World Cup. So don't just go with this blindness and just saying, he'll show up for us. It's like, why? What evidence do you have?
Under Poch, he hasn't really shown up very much at all. I mean, is there like a big game under Poch? Like, it just doesn't feel like that at all. So, like, this system, this player, yeah, there's work to do. And I know we spent a lot of time on it, but it's a big one because I'm not sure I ever thought I would say Christian Pulisic stocks down, even on a bad streak. But right now it is. And I think there is at least a world where I bet Poch is considering, hey, what do we do and what are our other options? Because we look darn good with Diego Luna and Tillman and Bala. Like, if you go back to last camp, and we looked way worse with Christian Pulisic in the game, this time. So it's a conversation. My first one was Pooley. I've got a couple more I can bring to you.
I have a whole starting 11 if you want.
I'm going to circle the conversation back to your Tyler Adams, and I'm going to kind of come at it from a little bit of a different slant. My stock down is like I've called them the replacement midfielders, in the past. Like we have all these replacement midfielders, and it's like, oh, who's it going to be? Is it going to be a Morris? Give me a little Tessman. Give me a little, Berhalter. There's been other guys in the past, right? A little Luca De La Torre. A little, like who's it going to be? Like somebody step up and become a guy. My stock's down after this camp. Stock's down on him, man. I know Tessman kind of was on a trajectory where it was like, oh, could this guy become a dude? You said that too. Berhalter had some good games. He had a good game against Uruguay. He had a couple other good games, against lower level opponents. Stock down on all of them, dude. I just didn't see it. People were still like glorifying Berhalter and Morris after last game. I thought they were terrible. I don't know if you saw the video I put out today, but it's like I was rewatching that goal, and it's like the effort level so low. Like, how are you going to be like a lunch pail guy and you're not hustling back in a clear transition moment? That's like wild to me. It's like
I don't even think it's like an effort. I think it's a quality problem. They just are not. They just can't play.
That was not a quality problem. That was like you just need to sprint. And Morris got 2 steps away.
But Adam, that's also reading of the game. It's quickly reacting.
Maybe, but like I would expect my 3rd grade soccer team that I coach, right? If they kick the ball by us, right? We train transition runs both ways, right? Like that's like middle school soccer tack to transition back. Like you could be right. That's pathetic if that's true. It really seemed like a lack of effort from those 2 guys. They were kind of comfortably Weah too. I don't want to like let Weah off the hook, but those 2 guys have a lot to prove right now. And like it's crazy to me that you're the replacement midfielders, you're the randoms, and you're like, oh, you have a chance. Get out of here. Like, get out of here. Bring me Yunus Musa back. Bring me anybody. Like, I don't care. Like, that made me so angry, Tack, right? Because one, I just don't think they're not very high quality, right? They bring certain things to the table. It's fine. They're just not good enough. And like all of those guys, to your point, I think there has been a legit question. Are we best, especially against the low blocks? Are we best against the low block with Tyler Adams in the game? Is there a better alignment there, right? Johnny and Tessman, or I think you got to throw that conversation out the window.
It's but I think like Tyler has to start regardless. Yeah, he's gonna.
That's exactly that. And that it's almost like that's the point. Tyler is stock up. I totally agree with that. Replacement midfielder stock down, right? None of you are the guy. None of you are starting. Sorry. Like hopefully some of you can come in the 100th minute of a tie game and like give us some solid minutes if needed in a knockout game.
Yeah, and about Berhalter, I didn't see the delightful like set pieces that people always talk about. He's there for the set pieces. Like I didn't see it. So, okay. So I've talked about like stock downs of Tim Ream and Turner briefly on the positive section. I want to give a player that I'm going to give stocks down, but it's not really stocks down. In my opinion, I think his stock is down with Pochettino, and it's Ricardo Pepi. I think to me, his stock shouldn't go down, but based on what happened in the camp, it looks like it has because so Balogun started the first game, and then Pepi came off the bench with Ajiman. So in the first game, we were not sure. So who is number 2 there? We don't know who's number 2. Pepi had a good pressing moment. Ajiman scored off the assist. Then in the second game, he decided to go no center forwards. We still know Balogun is the preferred option, but we were still not knowing. It's like, okay, so is it Pepi or is it Ajiman? It should be Pepi, but I don't know what Pochettino's thinking. And Ajiman was the first one off the bench out of the center forwards. And then after that, you're like, oh, maybe he'll give Pepi a few more minutes. He already knows what Balogun can do. No, he put in Balogun. So Pepi got no minutes. I think only Brendan Aronson got less minutes than Pepi this camp, besides goalkeepers, of course, right? Field players. So Pepi's stock is down. And if we talk about Pochettino, right, and what happened this camp, does Pepi deserve that? That's a different discussion. I don't think so. And the crazy part about this is I think Pochettino likes Haji Wright. He even scored a brace for him in a friendly, played him over Pepi in other camps. Pepi could be left out of the World Cup roster for the second time in a row due to a coaching decision. I think if Haji's healthy, my guess is it might be Balogun, Haji, and Ajiman. I think Pepi will be the odd man out, which is kind of crazy, but it looks even more likely, right? If we just use the data we have, not my opinion, not your opinion, right? Let's forget our opinions. Only the data we have. Based on the data, if you give it to AI and they just use the data, they're going to put Pepe out.
So I've said this for a long time. Ever since Ajiman got like 1,000 minutes in the first half of the year last year, I said it's really hard to believe he's not going to end up going to the World Cup. It's just a ton of investment. You have to love a guy to play Ajiman as much as Poch played Ajiman, right? And I think a lot of people are like, no, you're crazy. That's not going to happen. I think we're at a point where like Big Pat's coming, man. Like I don't see it. He loves Big Pat. Big Pat scored again. Big Pat got the first run off the bench in game 2. Like Big Pat's coming. All 0.3 goals per 90 that he scores in the championship. Oh, it's fierce. 0.3 goals per 90. We were all so wrong about him. He really proved us right. Like that is a pedestrian number for a striker. Dude's played 2,600 minutes this year. He has 10 goals. Like that is so bad, bro. Like this is not a good strike. I'm sorry, man. This is not a good striker.
And he is like something to that, Adam. You got to remember the championship. I think this I'm going to blame myself. I overestimated the level of the championship because you had all these American players. Like Sargent was killing it first season. Not this year. This year was a bit weird for Sargent, but he was killing it when he had normal seasons. Aiden Morris is killing it. He's in the second best team. He's a starter, having man at the matches. Haji Wright killing it with the team that leads the league is going to get promoted. Yet, besides Haji, because he had some good moments for the U.S. men's national team, all these players always kind of suck for the U.S.
Dude, like Daryl Dike had like an awesome run, and I know people.
George Campbell's doing well.
He was never good enough, man. Like Cameron Carter-Vickers was really good in the championship for a couple seasons. Like, there's a lot of guys who have been good in that league. That what I've always say now is like, the success could translate, but it oftentimes doesn't. Like
Brendan Aronson too.
There is no proven track record of that mattering when it comes. It's very MLS, and I'm not saying they're the same level. People get so offended, but it's very MLS in the fact that like the success could matter. Like the success does translate sometimes, but it's not because of the league. It's because some players are actually good enough and some aren't, and it's really hard to showcase what matters at higher levels in the championship. But we digress. Like Pepe, honestly, I'd be shocked if he goes at this point. And that's sad because that dude is like a goal per 90 tack in the last year. The year before, he was like over a goal per 90. Like all the guy's doing is scoring. Last time he had serious run with the national team, he was on a scoring tear, right? There was conversation, is it him or Ballo for a while? You remember that? Like, because he was on.
It was crazy. It was crazy between him and Balogun, but yes,
agree. Yeah. But he was scoring so much that was an opinion that was out there. Do you remember? I mean, you and I have always been no, Ballo's the one. I'm just saying, like, he's gone from like being like a guy a lot of people in the fandom were like, I think this is the starter, to iced out, man. And it's not because he doesn't score. I know he got hurt a little bit, but he's on a great scoring run right now. Even going back pre-injury, even post-injury, it's okay. He scored a couple goals. It's really sad. You know, it's like, I feel bad because there's a different world where Pepe, has a totally different role. He should be the backup on this team. He should be the guy that comes in. Ballo should go all out for 60 and Pepe should come in for 30. And I think Pepe's great in that role. I think Big Pat has I am glad to be wrong come World Cup. And I hope he scores some big goals. I just don't see it, man. I just don't think he's the level. I really don't.
Yeah, and then who's your second stocks down? I think you're one.
I'm like you want to be. You mentioned a million guys. I'll just say this: like, let's cut the cord on Christian Roldan playing soccer for the USMNT. If he's on the roster because he's a great dude and great, I'm fine. That's fine. There's a roster spot for great dudes.
Wait, his stock is going even lower with you?
Yeah, well, it's hard for it to go lower with me. A lot of these guys. So I said this to you pre-show. It's kind of hard for any of these guys' stock to go lower with me. My stock is really low on like a ton of these guys whose stocks are going down. So I don't know. I mean, I thought about like, Joe Scally. I mean, he barely played. I don't think he's going to make the roster. Like Roldan, I just want to really overemphasize here, right? Like holistically, like let's stop. He can't play against this level of competition. Like I knew that, that, his stock's been really low for me. But I just got to overemphasize that the stock is dead. The stock is dead. We're bankrupt. We sold. We're good. If he's a vibe guy, he's a vibe guy. Stop playing him. He's not good enough. He's not close to good enough. Like, and people get tricked because he is a good pro in the MLS, right? And he can show up against lower level comp. he will get destroyed against almost anyone we play in the World Cup outside of maybe a couple of the group stage teams. Like,
Yeah,
it's just stop.
I think he'll just look completely out of his depth in the World Cup, and just because in friendlies he can hit a 5-yard pass, I think people need to relax. He is a weak link on the field. Again, what he is off the field, it is what it is. I don't know the guy. He's probably a great guy. He has to be a great guy, otherwise it makes no sense for him to be there. But ultimately, there's a few players that when you look that if we have them play more than 30 minutes any game in the World Cup, we're probably not going to win that game. And Roldan is one of them. Roldan, I think Berhalter is another player that'll look out of his depth. He looks like a guy that cares about the national team, wants to play, but it's just not there. Um, Arfston, because of how much of a defensive liability he is. And also notice how once the competition went up, Arfston doesn't offer anything going forward either, right? He does against weaker teams, but then you put the competition higher. I would say that Freeman on the ball is very questionable, but Alex Freeman defending, I do like his recovery speed, his athleticism. It does work. Aiden Morris is another one I'm very concerned because I've never seen him really play well for the U.S. national team. He's another one I'm concerned. Ajiman. So, and when we talk about these players that even play in MLS, even though I named many that don't play in MLS, I don't think the problem is MLS players, and I've talked about this many times. It's not really a league problem because there are players in MLS that would go to the U.S. national team, they would start, and they would be great players. And it goes beyond Messi and Son. It goes beyond those players.
They're not American.
What? They're just not American. That's the problem. So it's not an MLS player.
MLS has great guys for the national team.
Exactly.
None of them have a passport.
But it's not an MLS player problem. It's an American MLS player problem. Okay. And the issue with it is, like, I've talked about this on X and people get angry. MLS has a failed youth system. It's the truth, right? They should, but people are gonna say, but we have Kevin Sullivan coming up. It's like, guys, for you to have a Kevin Sullivan pan out, because we don't know what the future lies for Kevin Sullivan. He can take off and be incredible or struggle. We don't know. Hopefully he takes off. We kind of need it. But you need to be having, like, every 2 to 3 years, like 8 to 10 Kevin Sullivans, and then you're going to have 1 or 2 that explode.
That's correct.
Not like one Kevin Sullivan, like, Kevin, save us. You're all we got. Like, what is this, right? And we have that, and we're thin, guys. We don't have depth. The development is not good enough. So the problem with MLS is the level of MLS has gone up a lot over the past 15 years. That is not debatable. If you disagree with me on that, then yes, you're probably an MLS hater. But the development of the American player is not that good, and it hasn't improved as much as people think. The scouting, everything at the youth level. And we see that it's a reflection of the national team. You look at the starting 11, many players are not developed by MLS, which to me is insane. If MLS was doing a good job, 10 out of the 11 players starting, they might not play in MLS, they might be in Europe, but they would have been developed by MLS. And I'll tell you what, if that was happening, we're developing most of our stars in MLS and a lot of depth and great players, I would be extremely supportive of this league. Very supportive, because I'll say, you're doing your job. You want to close pyramid? That's fine. You're doing your job in that sense of developing players, American players here. We're not doing a good job with that. And people are going to say, but it's improved quite a bit. Guys, we got out of the group stage in 1994 in a very tough group. Guys, in 2002, it was not MLS development, and we made it to the quarterfinals. So cut the crap. The results haven't improved. The J League, and also to those who say MLS is only 30 years old, so is the J League. And look at the Japan domestic players. If you put a Japan domestic developed players versus our domestic developed players, which you would have to exclude Tillman, Pulisic, Johnny, A-Rob, we are screwed. Like, Japan would destroy us if we had to do that. It would be bad. So I just want to say it's not an MLS player problem. It's an MLS American player problem, which the problem is with development and culture. Obviously, culture in this country is the problem when it comes to soccer. And there's things that MLS can't do. They can't fix culture. Like, they can help improve, but they can't fix it. That's not on them. But Adam, let's switch the negative, go back to positive. One big positive this camp, because there are a few.
I think in both first halves, we showed that that there's something inside of our group, even in like second game. I didn't think we had a very good roster out there, but we showed that we can hang. I truly don't. I think we outplayed Belgium in the first half. I think Portugal outplayed us personally, but we weren't that far off, and we didn't have a bunch of pieces out there that we're going to have if we actually want to compete. So, listen, it wasn't good enough. Mexico tied both of these teams. Let's just be frank, right? Like, you can go in and care about the friendly and get some stuff done. Mexico didn't play 11 guys all game, right? They sub guys in and out, and they still managed to compete at a higher level. So I don't want to excuse it, but I do think the first halves are a positive. I think they do show that there's something there. And I think our best hope, Tack, is that Poch was really tinkering, treating it like preseason, preseason basketball, preseason football. Coaches just don't care. They throw anything out there. Players kind of then don't care. And that's my hope. I think that's worrying. I would expect us to start to want to like compete and gain some competitive bite. But I think the first halves were great. And my hope is that the second half, Poch was like, hey, guys, second half is just, get out there, see what you can do. We're going to mix and match. And that's what actually threw us off. And then come June, what we're going to see a return more to what the growth was late last year. So that's my glass half full. I wouldn't bet a lot of money that that's going to happen. It's still this whole Poch era is very hit or miss. It's very up and down. It's very like, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't really have a good read. And anything, it's kind of like being at a craps table. You're like watching the dice. You're like, what's going to happen? Is it going to hit? So first halves was the big positive for me.
Yeah, I think ultimately any positive that we mention in this video, it literally depends upon what we do next. But I agree with you. Like, for example, the Belgium game, if we play both halves the same way we played in the first half, and we have a Christian Pulisic that, let's not say good form, but just on average form for his standard, right? Because he's not on average form. He's on tear. If you have a Christian Pulisic on average form for his standard, and we play the same way we played in the first half, both halves, I think we win that game. So
plus Richards plus Freeze, which you already mentioned on this video, right?
Yeah, and they were, exactly. I think we win that game.
And Adams hopefully healthy, right? Yeah,
but not even Adams. Don't even put Adams. I think we win that game. So that is something for US fans that, despite everything that happened, they're like, oh, wait. So I know it was 5-2, but if you really start to look into this game and how things happen and how some subs or many subs, they got very sloppy in the second half and all of that, we could beat Belgium in the World Cup. It's possible, right? Now, mind you, they were missing also some key players, so just want to make that clear. But my big positive is we still have 2 friendlies before the World Cup. You want to arrive the World Cup with your confidence high, so with wins. And I think this camp was a good, rude awakening. It was like, hey, that 5-1 win against Uruguay? Boom. No. Wake up. There's a lot of work to do. Things are not perfect. There's a lot that has to change. There's a lot that has to be fixed. Don't get too cocky. Don't get arrogant, right? I think if there was a time for this to happen, it was now. I would not want it to happen against Germany and Senegal right before the World Cup, like a week before, and our morale is just down. So the good news here is it was bad. The morale is probably down right now, but these guys are going to go back to their clubs. Things are going to settle down. Everything will be okay. And then they're going to get called in again and be excited for the World Cup. Hopefully, against Germany and Senegal, we can maybe get one win, maybe beat Senegal in the second game and get some momentum for the World Cup, maybe get a draw against Germany, get something that builds, because confidence is very important in sports for athletes. And right now, if the world, let's say these were the 2 friendlies before the World Cup, we were going to go into the first game with our confidence all the way down.
Yeah.
So the positive here is if there was a time for this to happen, it was now. It was now. And then my big negative of this camp, I'll just go first just to piggyback off what I just said, is that it felt like we regressed because we talked about this on the post check, right? We were dead under Pochettino, and then we had a good camp against Japan. Well, bad game against South Korea, better game against Japan's reserve, but better game. Then we had a good camp when we played Australia and Ecuador. I thought we did good. And then we had a very good camp where we defeated Paraguay, that is in our group, and we destroyed Uruguay. again, not all sunshine and rainbows. Don't read into it too much, but it looked like we were trending up. And then this camp, it looked like we didn't really like stagnate. We went down a little bit. So it looked like we regressed. Um, Obviously, depending on what we do next, we can just skyrocket back up, depending on how we play with Germany and Senegal, and then the World Cup. Ultimately, we're going to be this team will be judged based on what they do in the World Cup. But the big negative is that we were catching good momentum, and it just felt like we regressed, and I wish that didn't happen right before the World Cup.
Yeah, my big negative is player selection. I think that I've had some strong disagreements with Poch's player selection, to the point that I actually thought it was pretty incompetent for a while. And I still think he's just seeing stuff in guys I just don't see. And half the battle is who you bring to the World Cup, right? You have to bring the right pieces to push the right buttons. And I think he's going to end up bringing, I'm really worried, he's going to end up bringing a lot of guys that when he goes to push those buttons, they're broken. Those are broken buttons in certain games. Those are not going to help you turn the tide, right? Like a big part of games and knockout rounds, or even right in group games, is do you have impact subs, right? Do you bring them in at the right time? Do you change tactics at the right time? And I just don't see it. I'm confused by a number of guys that got a lot of minutes. Did you see the graphic? I forget who put it up, but somebody put a graphic of all the minutes that were played this camp.
I'll try to find it while you're making your point.
Yeah. So you saw it. So really troubling though. Like you look at that and you're like, gosh, like that's the investment. We had 4 games left before the World Cup starts, and those 2 games we chose to invest 110 minutes in Berhalter or something like that, right? And a lot of minutes in other guys, and very few in Pepe, and very few in Gio, and so it's becoming clear what directions Poch is going in. I've heard guys say, no, I think he was given a last tryout to certain guys to see if they were up to the level. I don't. I think those guys are his guys from January camp, from last year, from Gold Cup. I think he has guys, and we used to hate on Berhalter for having those guys. And Poch, I think, has a lot of similar level guys that he has overinflated. And I think it's going to cost us. I hope it doesn't, Tack, but it really feels like something that's going to cost us in the World Cup. There's opportunity cost to playing Sebastian Berhalter for 35 minutes when you could have been developing and, putting time into a better player who could have performed at a better level, right? There's opportunity cost there. And I think that opportunity cost is gone at this point, right? It is what it is. We have who we have. We got to cross our fingers. But that continues to be my biggest negative on Poch is player selection and talent identification in our pool.
Yeah, again, he's going to ultimately be judged based on how we do in the World Cup, which is what we talked about a lot with Berhalter. And I saw Pulisic saying that we had a great 2022 World Cup. I don't get it. To me, we had a bang average 2022 World Cup. It wasn't bad. It was just bang average. We won 1 game out of 4 games that we played. We scored against Wales. We scored against Iran. We scored a very lucky goal against the Dutch. Otherwise, we would have not scored. And they're like, oh, we tied England. It's like, okay, congrats. Get the I tied England trophy. It was 1 win in 4 games, and we got out of the group, a group that was among the easiest in the World Cup. And then we lost to the first decent opponent we faced. So it wasn't anything that you'll go, what a horrible world. It was just very bang average. But Pulisic thought it was a great World Cup for some reason, which kind of worries me about what he thinks the next one's a great World Cup.
Yeah.
He might be happy getting out of the group.
Yeah.
So Adam, just to finalize, I'm going to rate this camp. I give this camp a 2 out of 10. The reason I don't give it a 1 or a 0 is I wanted to give it 2 points because there were goods in the first half. There were things, patterns of play, the player selection, especially in the first game. We created a few dangerous shots. We just didn't have the quality to punish them the same way they punished us. So it's not a 0. It's not a 1. And again, like I said, everything that happened here, it's not all doom and gloom. We'll see how it goes. I don't think we're going to have a massive 180 till the World Cup, but I also don't think we're going to look this bad because of the many reasons you even talked about, like the sub patterns. Like they're not going to be like these games. So hard to be very positive or optimistic about the World Cup, but I also wouldn't be overly pessimistic like some people are saying we're going to get grouped. I would be willing to bet money that we're not getting grouped. My question is, can we win one knockout game? That's my question. And Adam, your rating for the camp, and then we can close it here.
Yeah, the camp was it's hard to rate it above a 3. I think it's a 3. I think that if there were some goals going on, like some people are kind of intimating that we don't know about, like, if there really was kind of a, hey, this is my last chance with these guys, can they play against this level? And it rules out some of those guys and it solidifies what the lineup should be. And it doesn't include some of the guys that clearly can't play at this level. I think I could look back and I could have a different view of this camp, Tack, if that's really what's happening. I don't trust that's what's happening though. And we don't have any visibility. So it's a 3, right? All we can judge is what we saw. And it was solid in a couple first halves, but overall, pretty, you listen, you lost combined 7-2, right? Like you didn't look like you could really compete against those teams for 90. And that's what you got to do. 45 isn't good enough. So a lot of unknowns. I feel like there's unknowns. I don't probably feel as pessimistic as you or a lot of other people. I just feel like there's a lot of unknowns still. And I don't think Poch is like, I thought Poch would have solidified a lineup, started playing guys, a core 15 together, not been totally intermixed at this point in time. He hasn't. So we're up in the air. We'll see what happens, but it's gonna be fun.
I guess it would have been less concerning if we were like, we had 2 years for the World Cup. We're like, oh, we got time. We'll figure it out. It's like, you need to have it figured out like in a month, like in a month or 2.
Would have been nice to not waste a year and a half on the guy that we all knew couldn't do the job in a second term, but we gave him the job. Like, come on, this all is still going to go back to the rehiring of Greg Berhalter, like,
which is on the federation. Yes,
it just does. Like, it's, even if Poch succeeds, it'll be like, wow, like he was able to figure out a way to succeed in the World Cup and have a positive World Cup given just 2 years. Like that'll be shocking to me because he's put in a rough spot. Culture was terrible. Culture was dead. He has a year and a half. We talked about it. It was like 8 windows, right? And our guys are hurt all the time. So we'll see, man. But hey, next time we chat, it'll be World Cup time. And that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, we're here. We're
It's
finally
exciting.
here. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to go follow Adam on X, and I am certain that you guys will still see him around probably during the World Cup. We're planning some stuff. We'll talk about it later on with y'all, but he'll be around during the World Cup as well. Thanks for watching, everyone. Drop a like before you go. Have a great day. Bye-bye.